Everybody, welcome back to theCUBE After Dark. We're here at the Embarcadero with Open Policy and the NYSE Wired community. Anishan also is one of our sponsors. This is where we gather. It's kind of an informal meetup on the pier. It's a very cool setting. Open Policy is a dot connector and a network extraordinaire. And we're really pleased to have Irina Denisenko here. She's the CEO of Knox Systems, a company that helps organizations get FedRAMP certified, and it's a pleasure to have you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So you guys just started last year. You're the CEO, but you were explaining to me off camera that you've actually got tech that you've been developing the last several years, better part half a decade or so, and you had your hands on that. From a technical standpoint, tell us about the history of the company and why you started Knox Systems.
Absolutely. Really the origin of Knox goes back 5 years when I started a company called Class.com, which is an ed tech company. I started it with the founder and CEO of Blackboard, very large ed tech company. And it was a very simple concept, adding teaching and learning tools to Zoom and Microsoft Teams.
You said ed tech.
Ed tech.
Education tech.
Education.
Not ad tech.
That's right.
Okay,
that's
ed
right.
tech. Some of the best minds of our generation trying to figure how to get people to click on ads. Not that. Education.
Education.
Good for you.
And in response to the pandemic, fast forward 2 years, we were doing about 20 million in revenue, selling just to colleges and schools, so pure ed tech, when the Air Force called us. And they said, hey, we're the cryptologic unit of the Air Force, we saw your technology, we'd love to use it. We said, great. And then they said, well, before we buy, you're going to need to get FedRAMPed. And I said, what's FedRAMP? Well, it turns out FedRAMP is the set of security standards that a SaaS vendor has to meet in order to sell to the US government.
How long ago was this?
This was 3 years ago.
3 years ago, you didn't know what FedRAMP was, now you've launched the company, you've funded it. Wow, that's awesome,
right.
That's impressive.
That's right.
We'll get into that.
Yeah, and long story short, FedRAMP is a very long, expensive process. It costs millions of dollars. It takes at least 3 years to go get, and then $1 million a year to maintain it. And so I could not afford that amount of time, or that amount of dollars at the time as a $20 million company. And so long story short, I went out and found a managed cloud provider who was already hosting Adobe's federal cloud. And I called them up and I said, hey, could you also host my application? And they said, well, we haven't done that before, but let's try. And lo and behold, 6 months later, we had Class.com in that federal boundary. Class was FedRAMPed. We won the Air Force contract. We won an Army contract thereafter, and it really transformed the business. Fast forward to how did Knox come about? Well, at the end of last year, the new administration made it very clear that they were going to push for modernization of the federal government in terms of technology. And I said, well, look, there's no way you're going to be able to modernize with commercial off-the-shelf software if you can't secure that software. And so we said, let's bring this tool that we have, which is this fast FedRAMP tool, to market, and that's why we started Knox.
Yeah, so your website says FedRAMP in 90 days.
That's
so
correct.
It's like, that's fast, given what you experienced. So what's the tech behind it? How were you able to achieve such a rapid acceleration in time to compression?
The technology is a managed federal cloud that has been running for the last 10 years continuously. So this cloud was stood up in 2014. It's been running continuously, both across FedRAMP and the DoD version of FedRAMP, which is called DISA. We are impact level 4, which is very challenging to get. And essentially what it means is that we run the production environment for our customers. So our customers come in, they park their production environment for federal in our cloud, and we are responsible for managing it. Ultimately, that means that they have 2 production environments now, one for their commercial, which they continue to manage, and one for federal, which we manage.
So, okay, so you have this idea, you solved your own problem, essentially. Right. How did you fund the company? I think you just did a raise.
Yes.
What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. We are, first of all, we're running profitably, and it's not so common in the Silicon Valley world, but we're very, very lucky to have some really terrific customers, including Adobe, Spacelift, who we just announced at RSA, Tavuti, who we also just announced at RSA, and many others. In addition, we're funded by phenomenal folks out of First Hand VC, Simon Chan, and quite a few others.
So, you've got this evolving threat landscape. geopolitical tensions. We just did a survey with our friends at ETR. It showed that it's a huge number. I think it was 43% of the respondents had changed their spending to accommodate concerns over geopolitical tensions. A large percentage, 20 or 30%, had actually seen attacks from this landscape. So you've got that going on. You got NIST frameworks, you got CISA, you have the very rapidly changing environment. How do you help your customers make sure that whatever they do with FedRAMP is future-proofed?
It's a great question. Ultimately, it comes back to how are we securing government data at rest and in transit, right? That's what FedRAMP is. That is ultimately what matters. And what we ensure we do is we're staying always up to date on what is the latest technology to ensure not just that we're delivering the most cutting edge technology tools to federal agencies, such as AI tools, AI agents, and so on, but how are we securing those tools? And really our partnership with Spacelift that we're launching at RSA today is a case in point of that. Spacelift is an infrastructure as code, observability, and orchestration product suite that allows us to manage the configuration of every single resource in a very big, complex environment with code, right? With automation. That is so crucial, and it's things like that that really make the difference.
How do you, so let's go to the news. You've referenced it a couple times, but double click on the hard news that you have here.
Absolutely, there's a number of really exciting announcements. We came into RSA with 2 exciting announcements on partnerships, one with Open Policy, who we're here with today, and they're doing fantastic work, and we're so excited to be a part of it, as well as with RapidFort, which is a software security supply chain security company. Very important to harden images, and that's exactly what they do. And then today and tomorrow we're announcing that Tavuti, one of the largest learning management providers, has chosen Knox to FedRAMP them, and that Spacelift, one of the largest infrastructure as code providers and orchestration tool providers, has also chosen us to FedRAMP them. And we're so proud to serve them, and we're so proud to be able to offer such cutting edge technology now will be accessible by the federal government.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you deal, and maybe it's not a problem, but I'm just thinking about these entrenched systems with all this technical debt. How do you accelerate around all that hairball spaghetti mess?
That's a great question. You know, one thing that's so important is really leaning into infrastructure as code. And I'm sorry to get so technical, but at the end of the day, it is about automation. It is about being able to scan an entire environment and not have to manually understand what's going on, but really leverage automation with infrastructure as code, with AI agents to be able to tell you where are the misconfigurations. One thing that we're really proud of at Knox is we've built an AI auditor based on the 10 years of running this federal boundary compliantly of data that we have, which is, there's only 400 folks out there that are FedRAMPed total. So it's a very small group of us that have this. We took all of that data and we created an AI auditor to constantly be scanning our entire boundary. That's what allows us to bring folks, Adobe, for example, is they're not a spring chicken. They're a mature company. Yeah. There's a lot of tech debt, and even managing that environment took a lot of automation. It took a lot of AI agent analysis to understand where were the misconfigurations, how do we solve them rapidly, and bring this into the boundary.
So that ties into the business model. So you've got an ongoing a service that people can subscribe to. How do you price that? Is it a consumption-based model? Is it a...
Great question. So we price very, very transparently and very flat fee. So we, as I said, are a managed cloud. We take on all of the compliance, all of the hosting of your federal boundary. So that comes out to $350K a year for a company to deploy with Knox. We pass through all of the hosting costs, so it doesn't matter if your hosting cost is $1 a month or $10 million a month, that's all passed through back to you. And for the cost of 2 DevOps engineers sitting in the US, you're getting a full federal run program, both FedRAMP and DISA.
And it complies with the whole continuous monitoring initiative.
That's exactly right.
That's awesome. Irina, thanks so much. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Really great to have you on.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. All right, keep it right there, everybody. This is Dave Vellante. John Furrier is also here. This is theCUBE After Dark with the NYSE Wired and Open Policy. We'll be right back, right after this short break.